Namaste. So tonight I'm going to read Book 9, Chapter 30 on the conversation between Savitri and Yama and on the fruition of karmas in the Maha Devi Bhagavatam. Om Bhagavatam Namaha Kaya Koti Suris. Hari Om Tat Sat. Savitri said, O Dharmarajan, kindly tell me in detail about those works that lead the meritorious persons to the heavens and various other spheres. Dharmaraja said, O child, he who gives rice and food to the Brahmanas in India goes to Shivaloka, where he dwells with great respect for years equivalent to the measure of that food. This anadana, the giving of boiled rice and other eatables, is a great dan, charity, and this can be done not only to the Brahmanas, but to the other castes also, where similar results also follow. There is or will be no other charity superior to this charity of anna, rice boiled. It may be and other eatables. For here no distinction is made as to what caste will get it or not, nor the discrimination of time when to give such a charity. O child, seats, asanas given to the devas and the Brahmanas carry the donor to the Vishnu Loka, where he dwells for ayuta years with great respect and love. Giving excellent cows, yielding milk to Brahmanas, take the donor to Vishnu Loka, where he is glorified and remains for years equivalent to the number of pores in that cow or those cows. And if cows be given on a meritorious day, 4 times the merits accrue. And if given in a sacred place of pilgrimage, 100 times the result occurs. And if given in a tirat where Narayana is worshipped, 40 times the results accrue. He who gives with devotion cows to the Brahmanas in Bharata remains in the Chandraloka for 1 ayuta years and is glorified. He who gives a 2-mouthed cow to a Brahmana goes to Vishnu Loka and remains there for as many years as there exists the number of hairs on the body of that cow and is glorified. A gift of a beautiful white umbrella to a Brahmana makes one go to Varuna Loka for ayuta years, where he remains with great pleasure. Giving garments to the diseased Brahmanas makes one fit to remain with glory in Vayuloka for 1 ayuta years. Giving to a Brahmana the Salikrama with garments makes one remain with glory in Vaikuntha as long as there exists the sun and moon. Giving a beautiful bedding to a Brahmana glorifies a man in the Chandraloka as long as there exists the sun and moon. To give lights to the Devas and Brahmana glorifies a man in Agni Loka, the region of fire, for 1 manvantara. To give elephants to the Brahmanas in Bharata makes one sit in the same throne with Indra for his life period. Giving horses to the Brahmanas makes one remain in Varuna Loka for 14 Indra's life periods. Given a good palanquin to a Brahmana makes one remain in the Varuna Loka for 14 Indra's life periods. Giving a good site or a good orchard to a Brahmana leads one to the Vayuloka, where he remains with glory for 1 manvantara. Giving a white chamara and fan to a Brahmana leads the donor to the Vayuloka, where he remains for 1 ayuta years. Giving grains and jewels make one long-lived, and both the donors and receivers go certainly to Vaikunta. He who always recites the name of Shri Hari lives forever, and death goes far, far away from him. The intelligent man that celebrates the swinging festival, Dol Chatra, in the last quarter of the full moon night, in this land of Bharata becomes liberated while living, enjoying pleasures in this world, goes in the end to Vishnuluka, where he remains for 100 manvantaras. There is no doubt in this. If the swinging festival be performed under the influence of the asterism Uttara Palguni, then the fruits become doubled. This is the saying of Brahma himself. The performer lives to the end of a kalpa. To give till Sisamam to a Brahman leads one to Shivaloka, where one enjoys for a number of years equal to the number of till. Then one is born in a good yoni and becomes long-lived and happy. To give a copper plate yields double the effect. To give in India a chaste wife with garments and ornaments to a Brahmin, and then to purchase her with an equivalent in gold, leads one to Chandraloka, where one remains for 14 Indra's life periods and enjoys day and night the celestial apsaras. Thence the donor goes to the Gandharva Loka for 1 ayuta years and day and night enjoys Urvashi. Then he gets 4,000 births, chaste, fortunate, wealthy, gentle, and sweet-speaking, beautiful wives. He who gives nice and delicious fruits to the Brahmanas remains with glory in the Indraloka for a number of years, equivalent to the fruits. He gets again a good yoni birth and gets excellent sons. To give 1,000 trees while there are fruits on them, or nice fruits only to the Brahmanas, makes one enjoy the heavens for a long, long time, and he then comes back to Bharata to give various things, and good edifices with grains, etc. to the Brahmanas leads one to the regions of the Devas, where he remains for 100 manvantaras. Then he gets a very good birth and becomes the master of abundant wealth. He who gives with devotion to the Brahmanas' lands certainly goes for 100 manvantaras and remains there in glory for 100 manvantaras, and coming again to be born in good wombs, they become kings. The earth does not leave him for 100 births. He becomes prosperous, wealthy, and possesses many sons, and becomes the lord of his subjects. He who gives a good village with pasture land and cows dwells with glory in Vaikunta for 1,00,000 manvantaras. Then he gets a good birth, becomes born in a high caste family, and obtains 1,00,000 villages. The earth quits him, not even if he be born 1,00,000 times. This is very bad then to one who does not like to be born again. He who gives a village inhabited by good and obedient subjects, with ripe excellent grains, various tanks, trees, and adorned with fruits and leaves, dwells in Kailas, with great glory for 10,00,000 Indra's life periods. Getting again born in a high family, he becomes Raja Dhiraja in Bharata and obtains Niyuta towns. There is no doubt in this. The earth quits him not, even if he be born ayuta times. Really, he gets the highest prosperity in this earth. He who gives to a Brahmana 100 towns and countries inhabited by good or mediocre subjects, with wells, tanks, and various trees, remains with glory in Vaikuntha for 1 koti manvantaras. Then he becomes born in this earth in a high caste family, becomes the lord of Jambudvipa, and attains in this earth great prosperity like Indra. The earth quits him not even if he comes here koti times. In reality, he is a Mahatma, a great soul man. Rajesvara, the Lord of Kings, and lives up to the end of a kalpa. He who gives his whole property to a Brahmin gets in the end 4 times that. There is no doubt in this. He who gives Jambudvipa to an ascetic Brahmana gets undoubtedly in the end 100 times the fruit. If you give away Jambudvipa, the whole earth, if you travel all the tirthas, if you perform all sorts of asceticisms, if you give shelter to all, if you make gifts of all sorts, know that you will have to come again to be reborn in this earth. But if you become a devotee of Mula Prakriti, then be sure that you won't have to come here and be reborn. The devotees of Mula Prakriti go to Manidvipa, the highest place of Sri Bhuvaneshwari Devi, and remain there, and they see the fall of innumerable Brahmas. The worshippers of the Devi mantra, when they quit their mortal coils, assume divine appearances endowed with vibhutis, manifestations of powers, and free from birth, death, and old age, assume the Sarupya, the same form of the Devi, and remain in her service. They reside in Manidvipa and see the part pralayas. The Devas die, the Siddhas die, the whole universe vanishes, but the Devi Bhaktas never die, and they remain free from birth, death, and old age. He who offers tulasi leaf to Bhagavan Hari in the month of Kartik resides for 3 yogas in the temple of Hari. Getting again a good birth, he acquires the devotion of Sri Hari and becomes the foremost of those who restrain their senses. He who bathes in the Ganges early before the rising of the sun remains in the enjoyment in the temple of Hari for 60,000 yogas. Getting again a good birth, he gets the Vishnu mantra and, quitting his mortal coil, becomes united with the feet of Sri Hari. He has not to come back from Vaikuntha to this earth. He remains in Hari's service and gets the same form as Hari. He who bathes daily in the Ganges becomes purified like the sun and gets the result of performing the horse sacrifice at every step. The earth becomes purified by the dust of his feet, and he enjoys in Vaikuntha as long as the sun and moon exist. Then again he becomes born in a good and beautiful womb and is liberated by acquiring the devotion to Hari. He becomes very energetic and the foremost of the ascetics, pure, religious, learned, and self-restrained. When the sun comes midway between Pisces and Cancer and heats intensely the earth, the man who in Bharata gives cool water to drink to the people resides in happiness in Kailasha for 14 Indra's life periods. Getting again a good birth here, he becomes beautiful, happy, devoted to Shiva, energetic, and expert in the Vedas and the Vedangas. He who gives to a Brahmana the Satu in the month of Vaishakhi enjoys in the Shiva temple for as many years as there are number of particles in that quantity of Satu, powders in parched oat. He who performs the Krishna Janmastami vow in this Bharata is freed from the sins incurred in his 100 births. There is no doubt in this. The observer of the vow remains in great enjoyment in Vaikuntha for 14 Indra's life periods. Gets again a good birth here and acquires Hari Bhakti. He who performs the Shivaratri vow in this Bharata Varsa resides with great joy in Shivaloka for 7 manvantaras. He who offers the bay leaves to Shiva in Shivatri time resides with great joy in Shiva abode for as many yogas as there are number of leaves. Getting again a good birth here, he acquires the devotion to Shiva and becomes learned, prosperous, and possesses sons, subjects, and lands. He who performs vow and worships Shankara in the month of Chaitra or Magha, and who with a branch of a tree in hand dances day and night for 1 month or half a month, for 10 days or for 7 days, dwells in Shivaloka for as many yogas as the number of days he dances. He who performs the vow of Sri Rama Navami lives in the abode of Vishnu for 7 manvantaras in great joy. Getting again a good birth, he becomes devoted to Sri Rama, the foremost of those who have self-restraint, and he becomes very wealthy. He who performs the Saradhya Puja, the great Durga Puja in the month of autumn, of the Mula Prakriti with incense, lights, offerings of food, and animal sacrifices of buffaloes, goats, sheep, rhinoceroses, frogs, or other animals, together with dancing, music, and various other auspicious things, resides in the Shivaloka for 7 manvantaras. Getting an excellent birth and a pure understanding, he gets unbounded prosperity, sons and no doubt grandsons, and he becomes a very powerful sovereign possessing many horses and elephants. There is no doubt in this. Again, he who worships daily with devotion for a fortnight beginning from the 8th day of the bright fortnight, the Mahadevi Lakshmi remains in the region of Goloka for 14 Indra's life periods. Then, obtaining an excellent birth, he becomes a sovereign. He who in the full moon night in the month of Kartik prepares a rasa mandal with 100 gopas and gopis and worships Shri Krishna and Radha in Saligrama or in images with 16 varieties of offerings, remains in Goloka for Brahma's lifetime, and coming again in Bharata acquires an unflinching devotion to Shri Krishna. And when this bhakti becomes greatly intensified, he gets initiated into Shri Hari Mantra, and after quitting his mortal coil, he goes to the Goloka. Then he gets the Sarupya, the same form of Krishna, and becomes the chief Parisad, attendant of Krishna, and becoming free from old age, he has no fear to fall again down to this earth. He who observes the Ekadashi day remains fasting and performing penances in the bright or dark 11th day, remains in Vaikuntha in great enjoyment and comfort. Then again coming into this Bharata, he becomes a devotee of Hari. And when that bhakti is intensified, he becomes solely devoted to Hari, and quitting his mortal coil, goes again to the Goloka and gets the Sarupya of Krishna and becomes his Parisada attendant. Then, freed of old age and death, he does not fall. He who worships Indra in the month of Bhadra, in the 12th day of the white fortnight, is worshipped in the regions of Indra for 60,000 years. He who performs in Bharata the worship of the sun on Sunday, Sankranti, when the sun goes from one sign to another, and the bright 7th Tithi, according to the due rules and ceremonies, and eats the food called Havisyana, rice boiled in ghee, dwells in the Suryaloka for 14 Indra's life periods. Then coming to Bharata, he becomes free from all diseases and becomes prosperous. He who worships Savitri on the 14th day of the black fortnight dwells in the region of Brahma for 7 manvantaras with great eclat and glory. Coming again to Bharata, he enjoys beauty unequaled valor, long life, knowledge, and prosperity. He who worships on the 5th day of the bright fortnight in the month of Maha, with his senses controlled and full of devotion, the Devi Saraswati, with 16 articles of food, resides in Manidvipa for 1 day and 1 night of Brahma. On getting rebirth, he becomes a poet and a learned man. He who daily gives with devotion for his whole life cow and gold to a Brahmana dwells in Vishnuluka for twice as many years as there are the numbers of hairs on the bodies of these cows, and plays and jests with Vishnu and doing auspicious things. He finds pleasure. In the end, he comes again to this Bharata and becomes the king of kings. He becomes fortunate, prosperous, possesses many sons, becomes learned, full of knowledge and happy in every way. He who feeds a Brahmana here with sweetmeats go to Vishnuluka and enjoys there for as many years as there are hairs on the body of the Brahmin. In the end, he comes again to Bharata and becomes happy, wealthy, learned, long-lived, fortunate, and very powerful. He who utters the name of Hari, or gives the name, i.e. the mantra, of Hari to others is worshipped in Vishnuluka for as many yugas as the number of times the name or mantra was uttered. Coming again to Bharata, he becomes happy and wealthy. And if such things be done in Narayana Kshetra, 40 times the above results ensue. He who repeats the name of Hari 40 times in Narayana Kshetra becomes no doubt freed of all sins and liberated while living, and he will not get rebirth. He lives always in Vaikunta. He gets the Salokya, the same region of Vishnu, is not liable to fall, becomes a Bhakta of Vishnu. He who daily worships the earthen phallic symbol, after making it daily for his whole life, goes to the Shivaloka and dwells there for as many years as there are the number of particles of earth. Getting rebirth, he becomes the king of kings. He who worships daily the Salikarama stone and get earth and eats the water after bathing it is glorified in Vaikunta for 100 Brahmas' lives and becomes born again. When he acquires the rare Hari Bhakti and quitting his mortal coil, goes to Vishnuluka, whence he is not to return. He who performs all the tapasyas, asceticisms, and observes all the vrats, vows, dwells in Vaikunta for 14 Indra's life periods. Getting rebirth in Bharata, he becomes the king of kings, and then he becomes liberated. He is not to return anymore. He who bathes in all the tirthas and makes a journey round the whole world gets nirvana. He is not reborn. He who performs the horse sacrifice in this holy land, Bharata, enjoys half the Indraship for as many years as there are hairs on the body of the horse. He who performs a Rajasuya sacrifice gets 4 times the above result. Of all the sacrifices, the Devi Yajna, or the sacrifice before the Devi, is the best. O fair one of old Vishnu, Brahma, Indra, and when Tripurasura was killed, Mahadeva did such a sacrifice. O beautiful one, this sacrifice before the Shakti is the highest and best of all sacrifices. There is nothing like this in the 3 worlds. This great sacrifice was done of yore by Daksha when he collected abundant sacrificial materials of all sorts, and a quarrel ensued on this account between Daksha and Shankara. The Brahmins conducting the sacrifice cursed the Nandi and others, and Nandi cursed the Brahmanas. Mahadeva therefore disallowed the going on of sacrifice and brought it to a dead stop. Of yore, the Prajapati Daksha did this Devi Yajna. It was done also by Dharma, Keshapa, Ananta, Kardama, Swayambhuva, Manu, His son Priyavrata, Shiva, Sanat, Kumara, Kapila, and Dhruva. The performance of this sacrifice brings fruits equal to performing thousands and thousands of Rajasuya sacrifices. Therefore, there is no other sacrifice greater than this Devi Yajna. One becomes surely endowed with a long life of 100 years and is liberated while living. He becomes equal to Vishnu in knowledge, energy, strength, and asceticism. This is as true as anything. O child, this Devi Yajna is the best and highest of all the sacrifices, as Vishnu is the highest amongst the Devas, Narada amongst the Vaishnavas, the Vedas amongst all the Sastras, the Brahmanas amongst all the castes, the Ganges amongst the sacred places of pilgrimages, Shiva amongst the holy of holies, the Ekadasi vow amongst all the vrats, Tulasi amongst all the flowers, the moon amongst the asterisms, Garuda amongst the birds, Prakriti, Radha, Saraswati, and earth amongst the females, the mind amongst the quick-going and restless senses, Brahma amongst the Prajapatis, Brahma amongst all the subjects, Vrindavan amongst all the forest, Bharatvarasa amongst all the Varsas, Lakshmi amongst the prosperous, Saraswati amongst the learned, Durga amongst the chaste, Radhika amongst the fortunate. If 100 horse sacrifices are performed, Indrahood is sure to be obtained. It is by the influence of bathing in all the tirthas, performing all the sacrifices, observing all the vrats, practicing all the austerities, studying all the Vedas, and circumambulating the whole earth, that this highest Shakti, the highest Shakti's service is obtained, and this service of Shakti is the direct cause of mukti, liberation. To worship the lotus feet of the Devi is the best and highest, is stated in all the Puranas, in all the Vedas, and in all the Itihasas. To sing the glories of Mula Prakriti, to meditate on her, to chant her name and attributes, to remember her stotras, bow down before her, to repeat her name, and to drink daily her Padodoka water after washing her feet, and the offerings already offered to her. These are approved of by all, and everyone desires this. So worship this Mula Prakriti, who is of the nature of Brahma, and lo, who is again endowed with Maya. O child, take your husband and live happily with him in your home. O child, thus I have described to you the fruition of the karmas. This is auspicious to every human being, desired by all, and approved of by all. The real knowledge springs from this. There is no doubt in this. Here ends the 13th chapter of the 9th book on the conversation between Savitri and Yama, and on the fruition of karmas in the great Puranam, Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Ved Vyasa. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali. Om Tuyo Mata Chavita Tuyo Tuyo Manduscha Trasaka Tuyo